Welcome into Northside Territory, Foul Territory Network's Cubs podcast. I'm Sahadev Sharma with my partner Patrick Mooney. We're your Cubs beat writers over at The Athletic. Patrick, what are we 10 days into spring training about? Or we're getting there. Not quite. I guess a full week. Or a full week.
It's a week,
Yeah. So
It feels
feel
like
I was gonna
2
say
months, maybe.
I was gonna say, Patrick, I feel like you're haggard, you're exhausted, you're ready to come home.
You know how spring training is. This is not complaining. It's just like such a Groundhog Day experience and like all the years kind of blend together that once you're back for like 2 days, you're just like, okay, well, this is just the routine now. And like time kind of ceases to exist in the same form. Like, there's not like weekends,
No.
not a whole lot of nighttime activities. And then it's just a lot of, not complaining again, but it's just kind of that
no complaining.
That pace of spring training. I was saying with someone the other day, like it feels like you're there for a month just because like your brain is just wired and your muscle memory of doing it. And yeah, after Bregman, it's like, all right, like that was exciting. That was a big story, and then there was a big letdown. So it's kind of gotta pivot.
Now you grind through it, and we're not allowed to complain, right? Because especially you and I, because we get to tap in back and forth. The others have to be there for majority of the 6 weeks, and so we can complain amongst ourselves, but if we complain to them, we may get
it is a total privilege to do this job. I love doing the job. It's just that you fall into this like, okay, well, I just go hotel, ballpark, maybe grab dinner, then do work at home, and just like rinse, repeat. And so it's very enjoyable work day. Just very, very repetitive, getting into the rhythm of the season, which is good.
No, I get you. I'm looking forward to it. You missed out on some snow, so
that's what I heard. Yeah,
it'll be back. It'll still be here. I think it's going to be pretty cold. So you'll come back to it. You're not missing out on all of it. Don't think you skip it.
No.
All right. So Kyle Tucker met with the media finally. It sounds like Bregman, and is this a 1-year thing? Are the topics there, right? Like, yeah, a little Bregman thoughts, and then, trying to win in what feels like a 1-year stint with the Cubs.
Yeah. I mean, I think Bregman would have helped optimize Tucker's year in Chicago, no doubt, of just having that presence in the lineup, someone to take some of the pressure off, someone who he's very close with, and someone who Tucker called one of the best players and one of the best people in the game. I think like we all spend way too much time on social media and stuff like that, but I think part of the rationalization that I saw out there is like, oh, well, Bregman's not worth the money. He's not going to be that, he's not that good. And it's like, well, I don't know. The best player on the team thinks he's that good. The president of the team thinks he's that good. The manager basically said, obviously disappointed. That's why you go after the player, because you want him on your team. So when he's not on your team, that is a letdown. So that's one aspect of it. And also I think it's really hard to kind of report out the Bregman negotiations and look at this franchise's track record and look at, project what Kyle Tucker may get a year after Juan Soto as a more well-rounded player, though slightly older and not as generational Hall of Fame-ish at this point, but still really, really good. I'm not seeing any sort of contract extension coming out of this. That doesn't mean the Cubs and Tucker can't reassess at the end of the year, but I think the odds of them coming together on a long-term contract extension in spring training or during the season is very close to zero.
Yeah. I mean, and that's not changing much what we've said from the moment they traded.
There's more confirmation than like a new.
Yeah, exactly. Which, people, I think there is this sentiment that, well, they didn't spend on Bregman, they're saving for Tucker. I would not think in that fashion. Like, that is not what's
No,
happened. They
that's
wanted,
not the takeaway at all.
and yes, exactly. It's just not like, don't look at it as like, well, they're saving up for Kyle Tucker. Like, there's going to be a bidding war for Kyle Tucker, assuming he's healthy, assuming he continues to perform like he's performed. There will be a bidding war for him, and the Cubs are not set up to win bidding wars. They couldn't even win a mini bidding war for Alex Bregman. It wasn't a real bidding war. They didn't even enter the Juan Soto bidding war because, and it's not because Jed Hoyer doesn't think Juan Soto is a good player. They understand what type of budget they're working with. So like unless something changes with the way they spent with the budget, how are they going to win this bidding war? I think I don't want to rain on the parade before the season starts, but this looks more and more like this is not okay, where they're saving up the war, they're building the war chest, and they're going to dump it in Kyle Tucker's lap. That doesn't seem to be what's happening. Things can change. They can, if they have a good season, they can adjust and maybe the budget increases or whatever. This isn't locked in right now that he's not extending or that he's not going to come back to the Cubs as a free agent. I just don't see a realistic scenario where they're in a bidding war. Kyle Tucker is, I don't know who's a free agent after this season, but on the open market, unless I'm missing someone. And if I'm right on that, he's going to be highly sought after. One obvious team that tried to trade for him are the New York Yankees. It would probably make sense for them to go after him, right? A lefty at that park. They need they'll still need an outfielder in all likelihood. My guess is they're going to go after Kyle Tucker, and I just don't think the Cubs are set up to win that. And it's frustrating to think in that manner when we're 6 months away from free agency. More than that, when we're still in spring training, and this is the reality of their financial situation. When I say that, it's not like they don't have the money. We need to emphasize that they have the money. They're not acting like a team that can swing it around and kind of throw the hammer down financially.
How's that New Year's resolution going for you? The fad diets or the BS resolutions are so out. How about just spending less on your wireless bill, Kratz?
Mint Mobile to the rescue. Scotty, they've got half off their 3-month unlimited plan. That's 3-month plan for only $15 a month, baby.
All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network.
Switching is easy. They'll convert your current phone and phone number for you too.
Switch to Mint and new customers can get half off an unlimited plan until February 2nd. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/territory. That's mintmobile.com/territory.
$45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on their first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
We're not going to linger on this every single day of Kyle Tucker's Cubs tenure, but the Bregman thing was not only revealing, it was a guy who's super tight with Tucker. Tucker shows up for, if Bregman had signed elsewhere, on January 12th, sure, maybe it would have come up at Cubs convention, I guess, at that point. But it's not like this is going to be the thing about Kyle Tucker the whole time. It's more like, let's just get this out of the way now so that everyone's expectations are in the right place of Cubs think he's going to have an awesome year. Kyle Tucker has had awesome years throughout his major league career. If he has an awesome year, their playoff odds go through the roof. And so it's kind of a 1-year arrangement, and then see what happens, and that's fine. I think this is someone who seems pretty unbothered by a lot of it. He's not a loud talker. Counsel says he has a very like simple routine. He's been, a top of the draft type talent, guy who got to the big leagues very quickly. I think he's been in the last 5 ALCSs and 3 of the last 5 World Series. If I look that up correctly.
He missed not this past ALCS, right? They missed the ALCS. Their streak ended this year.
That's right. So, but he had been to, I think, 5 of them.
5 straight,
5.
No,
at one point,
yeah,
5 straight. Yeah.
Right.
Which is kind of staggering. You know what I mean? Like, it was just
it's
like,
insane.
This guy's got a lot of experience, and he was not like along for the ride. Like, he was a driving force. It'll be different. You made this point, I think, basically at the winter meetings as these rumors were circulating. Like, he's not going to have the same supporting cast as he did in Houston. And I think that'll be different, but not necessarily prohibitive to what he wants to accomplish this year and what the Cubs want to accomplish this year. And I mean, Kyle Tucker flat out was talking about winning the World Series this year, and I think he has a lot more credibility than most when he brings that up. He's someone who could help him get towards that path this year.
Right. Before we move on, I think it is important. I don't want to be all negative and just like act like. I mean, adding Kyle Tucker is a huge addition. I want to re-emphasize that. And like, this team is a good team for 2025. They've built a really strong team. I like this team. Are they World Series favorites? Obviously not. When the Dodgers exist the way they do, what they've built, like, they're going to just be the favorites for a while, it feels like. But weird things happen in the playoffs, and the Cubs are good enough to get to the playoffs, and they have a team that can make some noise. There's no doubt about it. I'm not going to pick them to win the World Series entering the season. I likely will pick them to make the playoffs, and I think they could make some noise. And they have a superstar on offense, and they have a strong rotation, and they have young players. When you have young talent, that's always intriguing to me as well, right? And one of those players, we're going to be talking about him a ton all season long, has inside track at third base. I mean, Matt Shaw is apparently taking advice from Ryne Sandberg. You were there. You've been there. What's the story there? What's Ryno, obviously a Hall of Famer, coming to spring training. I mean, there's some gravitas there. There's something to be said when you have players like that, former players like that can come around spring training and getting these guys here.
Yeah, it's one of those kind of, weekend snapshot at spring training. Is not exactly what I was planning to write. It just kind of popped up. People were asking about it. I guess, and there are just lots of elements within this. I think I filed like a 600-word story, but there was like 6 or 7 ideas I tried to kind of cram together. I guess start with the top of Ryne Sandberg looks great, sounds great.
It's great.
Our buddy Jesse Rogers and I were in the middle of the Cubs clubhouse, and kind of Ryno tapped me on the shoulder, said hi to Jesse, and all of a sudden we're talking to him, and the kind of media access time is sort of wrapping up. But when Ryno's in the middle of the room talking, you can't be like, just walk away. And so he was in great spirits. And just the day before, Craig Counsell had said, like, look, whenever a Hall of Famer shows up, walks into the room, he brings impact. And we're thrilled to have Ryno here, particularly after his battle with cancer last year, the relapse that he announced in December. He's back in Mesa. And he came across Matt Shaw, and Shaw said that Sandberg said, hey, I went through a similar thing earlier in my Cubs career. And, Sandberg's advice or kind of outlook is very simple. Like, just keep doing what you're doing. Like, whatever got you to this point, just stay consistent to that. And I did not realize this, but he was actually an opening day third baseman for the Cubs in 1982, that he came up mostly as a shortstop with the Phillies, was just hoping to like make a major league roster. And, at that time, teams had cores for like almost a decade, right? He had everyday
Right, yeah.
players for years and years and years. He wanted to break in kind of as a utility guy. No one was thinking like statue outside the stadium at that point. And I believe his first 9 games, he was like 1 for 30 and got called into the office with Dallas Screen and Lealia. And he's like, am I getting sent down? And they gave him a vote of confidence. And, shortly thereafter, had like a nice game in Pittsburgh, got a couple of hits, and, sort of the rest is history. Again, not saying that Matt Shaw is on some path towards Cooperstown, but Council notices stuff like that of like, okay, who's paying attention, who kind of recognizes the opportunity, who's listening. And then just to kind of wrap it up, Shaw obviously had been following the Bregman sweepstakes. He knows he has this opportunity in front of him. Still dealing with some oblique tightness. The plan is on Monday. Hopefully he's cleared to do kind of light hitting and throwing, maybe at like 70%, and that, probably not going to be ready for the start of Cactus League games. They don't see the need to push it. But Shaw was like, look, after everything that's gone on, maybe it makes sense to just kind of take a deep breath here. Don't need to go all out to be in that first spring game. They're moving him a little slowly, but yeah, I mean, all indications are he has the inside track, and it would take something kind of going wrong or something unforeseen to force him out of that spot. That's like the very strong sense in Mesa.
Yeah. Well, when you talk about like Council notices these things, we've been hearing that since he was drafted, right? Like pretty much since he got in the organization. Like this is a guy that stands out, gets a lot of Nico Horner comparisons as far as work ethic, how he goes about business. Whatever the baseball equivalent to a gym rat is, that's Matt Shaw. And you love to see that. You love to hear that. Obviously, he has to deliver on the field. Not the same type of player as Nico Horner. So we do that comparison a lot just because he gets those off the field comparisons. And he makes a ton of contact like Nico, but he's got more power and obviously different defensively. But I'm fascinated to see how he does and how he grows because he's one of those guys that they drafted and immediately you were like, oh, this guy probably should have been drafted a little higher than he was. Really deep draft, strong draft, so it makes sense why he was drafted where he was. But excited to see what he can be, what he can turn into. Just one of many young talents, but probably the one that as far as the guys that haven't debuted yet, that's gonna it projects to have the biggest impact, especially early on with this team. As far as adding veterans, there's no Bregman move coming or anything similar, right? We've talked about Dylan Cease. That's not going to happen. They're not trading for Dylan Cease. It's just, AJ Preller wants the world for him if he's going to move him, and he's likely not.
I don't know if anyone's trading for him, right?
Right. It would be a shocker. But that doesn't mean they're done, right? There are moves to be made, and it mostly seems like building out the bench, maybe some of the final pieces here.
Yeah, I would say just to circle quickly back to Shaw, like that's the guy that teams would want, right? Like he is. That's how he's viewed within the industry. Like no one knows how good he's going to be or not, but he's viewed as very close to major league ready. A guy that you can essentially like plug in for 6 years and several years at a very low cost. But that's what the Cubs need right now. I was told they're looking at a lot of different names. There's no name as compelling as Alex Bregman, but still hearing Justin Turner as someone they're looking pretty hard at. I don't know kind of where they're going to land on that, but that hasn't like gone away. I've gotten kind of mixed signals on Jose Iglesias as someone who would bring a ton of defense, kind of some energy, maybe a little bit of quirky personality, but does not have that offensive profile that the Ivy system is going to love. I guess they're never stop looking for pitching. I think we've heard that David Robinson sort of sounds out of their price range, though counsel had not ruled out the idea of signing a veteran reliever to a major league deal. There's some money set aside still for spring training, in season. I would say after that, it's probably going to have to go to the board and see what the Ricketts family thinks. And I think we'll be getting into this pretty soon. We'll have a mailbag episode. We got a lot of good questions on that when we consulted on the old Twitter machine. And I like some of the thoughts that people are having, like, okay, what's next? I think we'll see a little activity, in February, some smaller additions to round out the team. And then it's just going to set up for just an enormous trade deadline for this team.
Yeah, especially if they keep some powder dry as far as staying below the artificial limit that they've set for themselves. So if that's the case, yeah, I expect it. As long as they're in it, there's going to be some potential for some solid moves, right? So the types of moves that fans probably would like to have seen more of at this point. But perhaps we'll see that in July. We'll off on digging in on some of these names, because we did get some good mailbag questions, so we'll save that for that episode later this week. So we'll wrap this one up here. Thanks so much for listening. This is Northside Territory, Foul Territory Network's Cubs podcast. Make sure to rate, review, subscribe to the podcast, to the YouTube channel, and subscribe to The Athletic, where Patrick is reporting from Mesa, and I'll be out there in about a week. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. Take care.